So today we are diving into one of the most seductive, most powerful archetypes in all of history, the ideal lover. And trust me, this isn't just about romance. Oh no, it's about a role, a performance that taps into our deepest and, often unspoken desires. I want you to think back for a second, back to when you were young. You had these huge dreams, right? Big ideas about what your life was going to be, what your career would look like, who you'd love. But as we all find out, reality has a way of, sanding down those ideals. And that gap, that little space of disappointment, that is exactly where our story kicks off. Because, let's be honest, we often find ourselves living in a world of disenchantment. The grand adventure we all pictured as kids kind of gives way to a reality where people, events, they let us down. They create this void that we instinctively just ache to fill. And it's this feeling, this totally universal experience, that creates the perfect stage for the ideal lover. They operate in that space right between our childhood dreams and our grown-up reality. You see, they find their power in our broken dreams, which, let's face it, often turn into our lifelong fantasies. Okay, so what is an ideal lover, really? Well, it's not so much about a specific person. It's more about the role they play. It's like they hold up a mirror, but a very special mirror that reflects our deepest fantasies. The ideal lover isn't just charming. That's way too simple. They're an artist, and their art form? It's illusion. Their masterpiece is reflecting back to you the version of yourself you've always secretly wanted to be. They bring the fantasy you've always craved to life. And their absolute #1 trait is adaptability. It's their superpower. They don't have some fixed personality. No, they become a vessel for what someone else desires. So if you're missing romance, they don't just give you romance. They become romance itself. If you're starving for adventure, they are the adventure. They just fill that void completely. And if you want to see a masterclass in this archetype, there is no greater example in history than the one, the only Giacomo Casanova. Now, this guy wasn't just some womanizer. He was a master psychologist, a performer of the absolute highest order. Casanova's whole method, his secret sauce, it wasn't about clever pickup lines or some big grand gesture. It was about deep, almost penetrating observation. He would study a person until he understood exactly what was missing from their life. And you can see this best by looking at a few of his most famous encounters. Okay, first up, the burgomaster's wife. Picture this. She's trapped in this totally respectable but mind-numbingly dull marriage. Her spirit is just screaming for some thrilling romance, a little taste of the forbidden. She wasn't really looking for a new husband. She was looking for an escape. But then you've got Miss Pauline, and her needs? Completely different. She was heartbroken, alone, totally vulnerable. So for her, Casanova didn't become this passionate adventurer. Nope. He became a perfect friend, a source of comfort, this incredible intellectual companion who gave her the serious, deep connection she was absolutely starved for. And then there was Ignacia, and this is where it gets really interesting. Her life was, it was too easy. She was bored out of her mind by her perfect, dutiful existence. What she secretly wanted was torment, a passionate conflict, something real and intense that she could confess. She actually needed to feel the thrill of sinning just to feel alive. So you see the pattern here, right? For each one of these women, he morphed his entire persona to perfectly fill the void in her life. He wasn't one man. He was 3 completely different ideals for 3 different people. The romantic ideal, the perfect companion, and the forbidden confessor. He became exactly what they needed him to be in that moment. So how on earth did he do it? I mean, it seems like magic, doesn't it? But behind it all was a very clear, very deliberate method. A method that, in theory, anyone could learn. The whole method really boils down to 3 steps. First, it starts with intense, undivided focus. I mean, truly seeing the other person. From there, it's about listening for the things they don't say, the unspoken disappointments, the gaps in their life. And then finally, it's about mirroring their ideal, becoming the living, breathing embodiment of everything they're missing. But, and this is a big but, here's the catch. This whole thing takes incredible patience and a deep, deep attention to detail. I mean, most people today are so wrapped up in their own lives, their own desires. We're all so impatient that we're completely incapable of this kind of focus. And that, right there, is why the true ideal lover is an incredibly rare species. And yet, the allure of this archetype, it has never been stronger. Why? Because the modern world has, in so many ways, just amplified the conditions that make us vulnerable to it. I mean, just think about it. We live in a desert of the self-absorbed, where everyone is focused on their own brand, their own needs. So when anyone, comes along and offers the rare gift of their complete, undivided attention, making you feel truly seen and understood, well, it becomes almost impossible to resist. Which kind of leaves us with one last question. Beyond all the seduction stuff, what is the true power of paying deep, empathetic attention to another person? Maybe the greatest lesson from the ideal lover isn't about manipulation at all, but about the profound human need to just be truly seen. And while we can sit here and pull all these deep lessons from his life, for the master himself, the motivation was, well, a lot less complicated. Casanova's philosophy was clear, direct, and totally unapologetic. And there you have it, straight from the man himself. It was his life's work, an art form he cultivated not for power, not for status, but for the simple, profound pleasure of making himself agreeable, and in doing so, fulfilling the deepest fantasies of others.